Okay, we are recording. Cool.
Okay.
Quartz, are you here? Or is it just me and Potato? Yeah, I'm gonna take it me and Potato, dog. Probably fell back asleep, huh? Oh, okay, so we have Ham too?
Yep. Look.
What?
Ah, god damn it. There's poured coffee.
Sorry.
We're recording now, so everyone's aware. Oh, okay,
Jesus
cool.
Christ.
We get multiple people. You know, it's 2 minutes past, guys. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Have what's his name put a thing saying it started 2 minutes ago.
I can do that. Started, but I don't think that we're gonna get any more people.
And stuff.
Oh, let me put the. We're recording. Cool. So we have gathered here today for reasons nobody really knows. We're here to talk about Mando future on Chaos. How's everybody doing? While I buy
Not
myself
bad.
time to get up
I'm
some
alright.
questions.
Quartz is typing in the chat, by the way.
What?
Quartz is typing in chat. He's not speaking.
Oh, that's fine too. If you
Okay.
want to type questions in chat, I'm watching chat or whatnot. But I'm trying to get homies. Okay, there we go. Travian did a little write up for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a little bit of a write up. And then we're gonna surface back to my questions, which I have for the community. But just some like starter topics. Okay, so we started this whole thing because the protectors are basically suffering bad, and I had a discussion with them. And if you're not a Discord junkie like me, then you probably didn't see any of it. And if you didn't,
Nope.
it basically amounted to um, you guys are so down bad that you voted in a Banny Vader, so it's obviously a lack of give a fuck to me, because there were several other candidates that were great, but a lot of people have gone LOA over the summertime, which is totally normal for Chaos. Chaos, if you've been around, then you know that uh, summertime's a lull time, and unfortunately, it's affected the Mando faction that currently exists, the predominant Mando faction that currently exists. It affected their leadership very heavily. So we had about, and I was a member of with them for a little bit there. They had like 4 to 5 people just fucking drop, dude. So it's starting to look like not going to pan out. And what I told them was, you guys don't have to. This is a major faction. Like the FOMO of a major faction is you guys feel the need to continue because you've reached
Yeah.
the point where you're now a major faction self-insert. You now think that you have to survive, and that if you die, all your friendships are gone, your safe space is gone, etc. Like, bro, you,
Sunk cost fallacy type shit.
Yeah.
yeah. Like you started a faction once, you could do it again, man. But don't feel like you're stuck in a story, because at this point it's no longer a story. Like, what story is going on in the Protectors right now? It has just been absolutely stonewalled
I
by the
couldn't tell
fact.
you.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, and I was helping them develop theirs. so, so like we had the Laurel tie. I also went MIA near the end of the Laurel tie, but we did all these. I was advising on all these things that they could do, and there's just no action to do it. Ever since Mia was the only proactive leader, and then after that, it was just like nobody wants to do it, etc., etc., etc. The story is old as time, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's basically where I come at with this whole Mando discussion. Mando Writers Assembly. It was just seized upon. I know it's weird to people like, why are we uniting everyone to talk about? Like, we're not. It's just people who want to talk about Mandos, but it was also seizing upon the excitement of a lot of changes happening with the Protectors and with the overall general Mando scene on Chaos. So that's why this
So,
exists. Go ahead, Insanity. What do you got?
I'm just saying, like,
We're
is this?
recording, by the
I'm
way.
aware that this is aware. I'm aware that this isn't just for the Protectors, but Mandalorians as a whole on the forums.
True.
And one of the things that I wanted to ask is, are we still portraying the Mandalorians as a dying culture and people, or are they on somewhat of a resurgence now?
I don't get to decide that, so that's the most important
I
part.
don't. Yeah, that's
So
kind of a.
I'm aware. I'm
yeah,
just
so
wondering what the general
this
vibe of the
Discord. Well, no, that's a great
is now.
question because you're really hitting on the how much power does this assembly have? Zero. as the
Mhm.
predominant
Happened.
figure in the Mando scene myself, I'm just saying zero. I've seen a lot of comments about what I'm doing, and that's the next piece. Is what is Tefka doing? Because he's talking a lot of shit about he's a figure in the Mando scene. He's helping people with legitimacy. I'm not doing nothing. I don't want to lead anything. I want to help people lead. I want to advise. But I don't want to necessarily get involved myself because that story is old and tired and done, dude. And you just get a lot of extra BS if I'm directly involved, um, which takes away from the story. I feel so. Like, what are we deciding here? It's less what we're just. There's no decisions being made as a result of this conversation. What the decisions that are being made are up to you guys. You got the Neo Crusaders with Ham and Zeph. You have the Protectors who are still deciding if they're going to survive or not. You have the loose leaf. I saw some guy talking about he wants the Candor Ordo type Mandalorians, the mercantile Mandalorians to come back. That's all well and good, but that's also a weakness of the Mandos is that it's really hard to unite the entire body of writers to agree on any single one thing. So nobody is. Um, and the only reason I'm saying that is because if I say I have no control over it, nobody does, dude. You know what I'm saying? So
I see.
yeah, but we'll get to questions here in a bit. I was just doing the little intro telling people that the assembly, why we decided to do this, why I decided to help Dravian do this. It was just basically the excitement of the situation and the fact that we had a chance and opportunity to sit down and really, light a fire underneath the Mando proverbial ass of the community. Um, with that said, um, a disclaimer: I'm not going to take any questions on Arla slash Australis slash Banny Vader. Nobody cares. So, so if you do care, which I question your commitments here, but if you do, we're not going to talk about that today because it's done. Nobody cares. Um,
Cool.
yeah. And with that, I think that covers everything. So we can start going down the list. But basically, the questions that we're going to have amount to take another look. Um, he wrote very generic stuff, but my questions for you guys are along the lines of like, uh, are you actually invested? Like, or are you just here to see the house burn down? Um,
I'm invested in the Mandalorians because I enjoy
mhm.
killing them.
You enjoy killing them, so you don't actually care to roleplay one.
No, I love Mandalorians. The more because I find Mandalorians honestly a fascinating people to fight against, and I want to see them prosper as much as possible so I can have more fun with them.
Well, what are you doing to help with that?
Well, I'm thinking like since you were the one who roasted me with the 40k people yesterday or
Yeah.
the day before.
But I also roast everybody, so don't take it too personal.
I won't. I don't. I mean, like I took it personal in a way that I wrote over 10. I'm planning to write over 10,000 pages in lore, but
Okay.
other question. It's just that
10,000 what?
Pages.
Holy fuck.
What page are you on right now? Out of that 10,000.
10,002.
Currently on the codex itself, I'm already at 5,000 words.
5,000 words. That's not what you said. You
Sorry,
said
that's
pages.
different.
No,
You
I
just
said
answered with the.
10,000 words.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
I'm
That's fine.
We're there.
Slip of the tongue, if you
10,000
would.
words is longer than all the Lord of the Rings combined.
All right, we're gonna skip back.
But
I
I'm
doubt
just,
it.
We're gonna skip
but
past
just
this.
moving
We're-
on to the
Yeah.
Mandalorian relevant
Let's make a point.
parts. I basically want to see Mandalorians try to be more offensive in the galaxy, basically like take major military actions against the larger factions
Oh,
if
okay.
need be.
You want more
Like the
battles.
Sith Order in particular.
You want more battles.
More
Hell yeah,
large
brother.
scale battles, like that feel like they're not just skirmishes but ongoing campaigns, offensives.
That's fair enough.
I'm kind of a big picture guy.
Okay.
Like-
This is the first time I'm looking at these questions. What sort of plots as Mandalorian writers make you the most excited to play Mandalorians? And how can we as a community of such writers facilitate that? I don't think any of us can answer that question. It's just like what excites you as a story. How can we integrate more of the culture? So that's my biggest thing is the culture has been widespread, and I've been a huge proponent of it. And that's where I try to like throw my voice at you guys of like, here are some things we should do. But it's the constant like even I get ignored on the front of like the headcanon space of I'm just gonna do my own thing, I don't care. Like, but the culture is one thing that we can really heavily get on, and then how can we handle interfactional disputes in a? Okay, that's silly. Is it possible to create a Mandalorian guide? Sure, but nobody's done it yet, so be the change you want to see. So that's a great question, though, is the culture aspect. So let's go down a list and say the one thing with your writing that you guys have done with the culture, or if you haven't, if you can't think of anything, what's one thing with the culture that you like or would like to see, rather?
You mind if I go?
Yeah, Potato, go ahead.
Yeah, so as I've been watching stuff happening on Chaos of the Mandalorians a long while, probably about since you started TEF, and I've been really wanting to join, but 2020 was the only time I was able to find space in my life to join, so I joined in. What I really noticed was, personally, there was a lot of rich history, but my personal flavor of Mandalorians was the Jastamariel Super Commando Codex.
You
That's
talk
what
really
Mandalorian deal.
fast. Start to
I'm so sorry.
slow it down a little bit so I can understand you.
So, as I was saying, is that I've seen a lot of the lore and writings that have been done on Chaos with Mandalorians since the start. It's all very interesting and drew me into Chaos when I was finally able to join in about 2020. But what I didn't see a lot of was just Miriel's Super Commando Codex type Mandalorians.
So explain for the uneducated what Jaster Moril type Mando really is.
So, Jastamiriel is, if anyone's read the Jango Fett Open Seasons comics, Jango Fett's mentor who saves him from the Death Watch when there's that civil war going on between those that want to follow Jaster's Super Commando Codex, which is basically a treatise that says that, well, Mandalorian culture needs conflict to thrive. It needs it to advance technologically, societally, personally, and so we can't get rid of that. So how do we attain conflict in a manner that isn't self-destructive. And so Jasta comes up with the idea that Mandalorians behaving as honorable mercenaries will be able to achieve that while not drawing the galaxy's ire, because the galaxy fights each other plenty enough. So if you just hire out as mercenaries, you will be able to um, attain that need for conflict without, going and pissing off the entire galaxy and having Revan activate the Mars Shadow Generator on you.
Fair enough. It's like a villain to unite us type deal, which is a common trope, and I agree.
And so that's how I wrote my Mandos. So far, I've had one or two people usually jump in and go, "Oh, it's neat. I want to write," and they'll stay for a bit, and then life will happen and they'll drop off. But that's how I did it. And I based my guys on Breshik because there's next to nothing on Breshik with the spike.
Well, the question was, what's the one thing of culture that you would like to see, or whatnot? And your thing is, I would like to see like the Jasper
Yes.
Hill like mercenary type.
Yes.
Okay.
And later under Boba Fett, the Mandalorian protectors, but our protectors are not like those protectors.
I'm gonna be real. I'll say it for all to hear. I hate the protectors. They're not very they're not very exciting to me. They operate under the guys. They're kind of like the gray Raxus type. Like if you adhere to like the actual what they are, then you're trying to portray them as good guys, and I really feel like, if you've seen Invincible, where the CIA director says, "I don't operate in the black and white, I operate in the gray," or "I'm forced to operate in the gray." I've always felt like that applies to the Mandos, especially on Chaos.
I agree. I don't believe it's truly being good. I believe it's
no, I feel like it's in the word, man. Protector.
Yes.
Well, so the old protectors, if you're talking about the ones under Shiasa, were just protectors because they were protecting the Mandalore sector. But the kind of jobs they took, especially when you look at the Shiasa protectors, there's nothing protecting about it. They worked for the CIS.
Well, so even just going back to the old protectors, which I don't recall them, therefore they are not important. But no, just kidding. But what I'm saying is any protectorate on board the forum, period, it instills a line of what's it called when the country only focuses on itself, or when isolationism.
Isolation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isolation.
You cannot survive on chaos as an isolationist. Go ahead, Insanity. You had something to say?
Oh, I was just saying another way to call it is an autarky, which is basically a country does not want to rely on international trade, but rather works on producing all its own materials within itself, which I suppose relates to what is.
Thank you. Thank you for that Wikipedia read. Ham, do you
No,
have any?
no, I am an
I'm kidding.
economics student. I am.
Ham, do you have anything to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the Super Commando shit, it's like a cool route to go. It is, however, like, it is kind of like the default, man, and there's not a ton of depth to it. I don't know, I think, end of the day, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's Star Wars, and the second part of that is pretty crucial, so I think, inner conflict, outer conflict, all that within the Mandos is like kind of what gets them going. I think when Mandos are fighting Mandos, it's interesting. When they're fighting Sith and Jedi, it's more interesting. When they're kind of just like sticking, I don't know what the fuck the protectors were doing, but it didn't seem like a very like stimulating shtick going on. Of just like, I don't know, I guess they were, maybe someone has better insight. It seemed like to me they were.
No, I agree. I don't think anyone should have to shy away from saying, I don't really feel like this is exciting. I joined the Protectors, and I love Mia. That's why I joined the Protectors. She was the leader. She's the OOC leader of the Protectors. She had come back to Chaos and wanted to start. I knew her from back in the day. We really hit it off as writers. It's never been OOC between me and Mia. Me and Mia can
Right.
conduct an entire war between two factions, and I'll never feel like there's any OOC animosity. We always talk about things like adults. We handle the conversations, and we get back down to business, which is tearing off heads and having fun.
Dude.
But I do not know what was happening inside those faction admin chats on Protectors, because immediately when I joined, like 2 people quit, and then we started talking about some like I didn't even do anything, and I was not part of leadership, and people just quit. And then they started talking about the government infrastructure of the Protectors, and I said, in what way is that exciting roleplay?
Yeah, that was one of the first talks we had in the Neo Crusader. Is like, I don't remember who was like, oh, so how are we doing the rank structure? How are we doing the guard? And I think me and Zeph Mia were like, nobody cares about any of that. Like,
Yeah,
that's not the appeal to Mandalorian writing.
I mean-
like, sure, writing the Empire, yeah, you're gonna have some of that, but like Mandalorians is kind of a lot.
You're gonna hear me harp on. You've already heard me harp on the Raw days a lot, and I'm gonna continue to do so despite all the hate. But
You're right.
yeah, the rank structure was not immediate. We did a lot of rank structure focusing, but it followed the invasions in the war. So basically, after every invasion, instead of a like, hey, you guys all get a participation trophy, which I hate seeing on Chaos, and it seems like everyone does it these days. Like, you all get a flare for I was there. Like,
I think I started that.
who can? No, you didn't start. You can't claim that one because that's been happening for like 10 years. But I get the participation trophy type deal, but I also, when I was doing it, we would take one guy like Dario, like he did well during an invasion, and so we had an RP thread after it where I declared him like the Minister of War, the Khan of War. And now he's attained that position. So yes, he gets selected out, he gets singled out, and there's a little nepotism feel there, and like not everybody gets to win in that scenario. Only Dario does. But it's like he earned that, and the RP earned that, and everyone together got there with the roleplay to really make that happen. And then we continue to do that. So
Yeah,
that's
but
my
that
take. Is
presumes
go ahead.
it's done all with IC sort of, as long as it has become one of those popularity contests, right, where the faction head goes, well, I like Bob, so I'm going to give Bob a gift, and I like Larry, and Larry's going to get a notice, but Franklin and Dave, they both did really well, so but I'm going to ignore them.
I agree that with that mentality, but I disagree with the execution, because people are going to say popularity contest no matter what, as long as they're
you're
on
right.
the losing
As long as
side.
it's not actually a popularity contest, you know what I mean?
But my take is
I've never.
it just describes so much, because the devil's advocate rebuttal to that is, what do you want me to take people and promote them that I dislike? Like, I'm going to surround myself with people I dislike. Of course I liked Dario at the time, to follow that analogy, and of course I promoted him because I liked him and because I liked what he was writing and doing. But I don't like the popularity contest thing, because it turns it OOC. Like,
I
Go
don't
ahead,
think
Dan.
you'll run into a situation where somebody contributes a ton to a faction and then they just don't get along with the leadership of that faction.
Yeah.
It's like, rats! What am I gonna do? I hate this guy, but he's doing like that. Because, like, as much as people want to say it's all IC, bro, a ton of it is OOC. And you're gonna write at the end of the day with people you get along with, which is like, yeah, that's it's like a parasocial fucking hobby. Like, that's how you should do it. So yeah, I don't think that's ever been an issue as far as usually it goes, they go hand in hand. Contributing to a group or a story goes along with enjoying the people you're writing it with. So I don't think that's really a thing.
Combination, right? As long as the balance is met.
I mean, that's the constant juggle, man. It's a dance.
Yeah.
It's a dance the
Yeah.
same way as PvP, and like if you take PvP in a roleplay format, a turn-based post roleplay format, it's a give and get,
Mhm.
right? It's the same
Yep.
thing applies to everything else. So like
Yes.
I give this one guy a position and he rises amongst the ranks. Well, then he's got to give the faction his activity and time and his care, or everyone's gonna hate him. It's be like, why did you get promoted, bro? And what the
True.
problem with a lot of factions throughout the history, not even recently, just but throughout the history, is people get they attain these positions and then they do nothing with them. Like it was all about the journey, and then nothing about the end game. So if you're in it to win it, then cool, but don't take that position and then do nothing with it because you're stealing away that opportunity from others.
Yep.
And that's a big reason why I don't want leadership. Period in a Mando faction is because like we've all seen what I do, and like it's in the history, and then it's a matter of like I would be stealing the thunder out of other people's like who really want to do it, rather than a whole bunch of people just asking if Tef will. So I think that's
Well, and
the
you don't
most
want
important thing. Yeah.
the comparison either. You don't want the kind. Especially, it's one thing to lead, I guess, like two different sort of things, but to go into like the same archetype twice, you're gonna get to go. Well, under Ra, you did this. So it's like, all right, you're gonna.
Um,
It's not healthy for
I
the whole thing.
100% agree, but also like it depends how much you care about your the opinion of others of you type deal. But
True.
not really a viable discussion because I've already said it's never going to happen. Um, let's see what else. Oh, a culture thing. Uh, Ham. Say one thing that you like about the culture, or wish that the culture had for Mandos, or that you've done recently yourself. And you could use examples from your new faction if you want.
As far as like how it's portrayed on Chaos or in general,
I can
or
start out
Mando,
with.
I
Let me
guess.
start out with an example that I give, so people get a better understanding of what exactly I'm asking. Because culture is a very engrossing word. The alloral tie is my favorite invention that I've done. Uh, it's based on real selection of things, and it embraces a lot of like set in stone items of the culture of Mandos. So what the alloral tie is a meeting of the allures of several, which are the leaders of several different clans,
Yeah.
to choose a new Mandalore. The
Yeah.
biggest problem we had back in the day was if you call yourself Mandalore, basically everyone's gonna, challenge you to duel for the title of Mandalore because they think that's how it works. So we adopted a few safety measures to um, just stop any, Darth Maul from walking up and claiming or Queldroma or from claiming leadership of
Yeah.
the Mandos by saying that the Allures had to approve you, which makes sense to me. So,
Yeah, I agree. I like it.
and it
Um,
empowers the Allure Council and all that stuff. So anything like that.
I know we did. This is like way back. When I did Sons of Mandalore, the Blood Oath thing we did was a pretty. It's kind of an obscure thread looking back now, but we did like everybody uh within the Sons of Mandalore faction, like they swore like almost like a penance, like sort of like crusade in the to like not to like sort of commit to like this fucking uh inevitable like deadly path of ripping Mandalore away from the Sith Empire at the
So
time, because I mean that was after Carnifex, fucking
yeah, that
did his
sounds really
Yeah.
deal.
cool. Okay,
It was
what
pretty.
exactly? And you don't have to dive deep or go look up the thread or whatever. Just
Yeah.
general. memory, but do you recall exactly what the blood oath was, or was it just a swearing, like a pledge, or was it like an actual? I cut my hand and we embraced each other.
Yeah, it was part of that. It was like the bit of the cutting the hand thing, and then there was like some fucking.
Do you wipe it down your
sacred
T
oath
visor?
that Yeah, hell
That'd
yeah.
be kind of badass. Like you just have that, like the who was the Finn from the Stormtrooper? Like you have the blood.
That
Oh
is.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is exactly what we did, though.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I remember role playing with Sons of Mandalore. It was fun. For a brief time,
Pretty offshoot.
I think I did like 2 or 3 threads total.
Yeah.
Welcome, Dravian. For you guys muted, you don't have to speak. But if you have questions, type them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm assuming you're just lurking. So yeah, that's the culture from Blood Oaths are cool, and there's a lot of different ways you could
thing. Yeah.
you could adopt that even further. We covered Jaster Maril type mercenaries. Insanity, we haven't covered you for what's your favorite part of the culture or invention that you made for the culture or thing that you like about Chaos Mandalorians?
What I like typically about the portrayal of Mandalorians is that it feels like they are a dying light against. Sorry, they are a fading light against a galaxy that's moving on. That they are a remnant of and the ye old times that are just starting to fade away with a galaxy that's leaving them behind. Yet
So you
they're
you
like
like
cockroaches.
you like yeah, you like
Yeah.
that the Mandalos are cockroaches and you like that they're dying off? Is that what
No, no, no.
that's your
I like
culture
their
today?
no. I like
Jeez.
the depiction of their
Old words for a guy sitting in a
their
Mando Discord, right?
I really
of
enjoy
their
the
Love it.
fact
struggle,
these guys are
their
dying, man.
refusal to go
Look
quietly
at
into
it.
that
They
good
refuse
night.
to die.
That's my favorite part about them.
I like to see the light in their eyes when they pass away, man.
That's awesome.
Dope, dude. That was a great take. Love that. So,
I just have a love for factions
anything
in
else
general that
other
feel
than
like
dead Mandalorian?
I get what he's saying. It's
Yeah.
like it's trying to fight against the dying of the light. Like it's a culture and a fucking creed that's been because it is like inherently violent and like breeds conflict with everyone else. And there's fighting
Well,
to. I get
weapon-
what you're saying.
Weapons are my religion, dude. But that's also only just like one facet of like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are probably speaking really well to the Neo Crusader crowd. Because they specifically fight for the old ways. But I personally enjoy that too, and my own character, Bail Varad, would like fit in very well with that old culture because that's specifically what I went for. Because when I created my character, I looked at the religion, which barely gets touched by a lot of people. But has been expanded upon, like in the Karen Travis stuff, I think.
Yep.
And then the
Mostly in the New Crusader books, where they talk about Khad Harangir and stuff like that.
okay. And
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, you're fine. Interrupt. This
Okay.
is a discussion. But that's what I enjoy most about it is looking back at that and then taking like the small picture that we have from the lore, from the small amount of EU lore that we have, and then like expanding upon it and being like, what does this faction look like? What does that faction look like? Is there like a proverbial like what does a hillbilly Mando look like? Or what does a like super religious Mando look like? When we kind of from the Mando show, we kind of have a picture of that because there are Mandos that don't take their helmets off as a part of their creed, and are like they're considered extremists. And I really like that juxtaposition. So I like to look at it like a lot of people try to carrot you in or pencil hole you in to a specific vision of the Mandos, which we're all used to. I mean, that's one thing we were worried about with Mando Riders Assembly, but that's the variation, the variety is the strength, I think, of a lot of this
Agree.
lore.
I
Go ahead, Insanity.
I sort of just had this idea while you were talking. I forget what's that war-like race in Star Trek again, the ones that like fighting a lot.
Klingon. Klingon.
Yeah, Klingon.
Klingon. Like I feel like not copying from the Klingons, but certain Mandalorians could take inspiration from the Klingons. I remember reading somewhere that Klingons view war, they like war, but they are in an inherently more peaceful society. So instead of our typical appearance of war, they seek to wage war in every way of their life, just not open conflicts with guns and all that. Say you are a Klingon doctor, you are waging a war upon disease. You are a scientist, you are waging war upon ignorance. And I think that it could be an interesting thing, a new element in Mandalorians, that they aren't inherently always shooting, but they are always waging war upon something
I disagree.
in
I'm
every
sorry.
aspect of their life.
How do you disagree, Potato?
I'll tell you why I disagree, because if you look at every one of the previously discussed facets of Mandalorian life, they all boil back down to what I discussed when I was talking about the Sukumandos, which is the necessity of war to progress as a individual, as a society, and scientifically, right? And if you sort of take that away, because for Mandalorians, in my opinion, right, as far as, and it's touched upon a little bit when Roland Dyer is talking to the Jedi, and when Kal Skirata is explaining things in the RC novels, is that without that, war is an extreme situation, and if nothing lasts that extreme situation, Mandalorians they discard it. It's like, okay, so that thing doesn't stand the test of war, probably wasn't worth much anyway.
I see. I
Um,
see.
Ham, any thoughts?
No,
Or have you
I
checked out yet?
no, I mean
Well,
I'm just kind of listening. I don't have a ton of fucking
That's fine.
input here. But I think you could definitely make an angle for this sort of like Klingon approach as like an attempt, like in that same view of like the Mandalorians, or this old way fighting against a galaxy that doesn't care to have them around with their quote unquote savage old ways. I could see that being like an appealing perspective to take like in character, but I agree more with like Potato that the literal like conflict and war and like sort of testing your mettle and struggle breeding progress and growth and things like that. I think that's more of a stimulating way to write
Um, I don't disagree with anything said by anyone. Uh, my take is just
I don't know.
my take is more the war aspect. So I have a very OC opinion about the war aspect when it comes to the culture, because one, I believe to be any successful major faction, you have to stir up the drums of war every so often. At least, like, you can't let 2 months go by without you talking about some war.
Especially immediately, especially
Yeah.
at the jump. I think.
Especially at the jump, because people worry about who wins and loses invasions. It's been happening since the beginning of time, despite how they try to hide their emotions on the impact. But it doesn't matter.
It's all I see, bro.
Both factions always. It has been. I've seen it since the beginning of Chaos. Both factions benefit, no matter who loses. The only thing that suffers is how the leaders of the losing faction handle the loss, and that impacts that directly. That reaction directly impacts the OC morale of their faction. So the luckily we're in a lot better space for the PvP game, but the how that matters to the Mando culture is not everything has to be about war. Like, that's very one facet of personality, and it's very confining. It's like, okay, I have to always be in the factory submitting, some Yassel Armory, or however you pronounce it, the
Salamiri.
shit, so I can cancel out the fucking
God.
Force users, so we can, have a chance on the battlefield. Like, why not just make them feel special? Make the Dragon Ball Z Jedi feel a little special about their own writing. Let them throw
How
around
else am
your
I gonna
guy.
win tension? Fuck.
Who cares? Just let them throw. You're in invulnerable armor, pretty much. Just let them throw you around. Plus, you have plot armor, and the rules say you can't die. Just let them throw you around, dude.
Unless you want
You
to,
literally
right?
just write if you want to die or not. So.
Yeah. So
You can literally just be like, are you force supposed to? I don't think so.
what I
I
think
just stand still.
the most interesting thing
Oh.
to me is always the journey. It's a very lame thing to
Correct.
say, but it's very true in all aspects of it. I like creating
If I could
enemies.
just,
Go ahead.
Whoop.
Who was that speaking? Was
I
that
just
Draven?
wanted to jump in here.
Go
Yep,
ahead.
that is me. I just want to put in my 2 cents. Love what I'm hearing so far. This makes me excited for tonight. Have to go on real quick, but keep up the good work.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.
Appreciate that. Okay. All right,
Yeah,
buddy.
guys, you're doing
So
What
my,
happened?
I really appreciate being interrupted for that. So my take was
You're doing a good job, by the way.
my take my take was so the war effort of the characters, etc. Um, that that has to the journey to get there to the invasion. You have to plan the invasion slash the whatever rebellion annihilation. You have to have that as your end game of that journey. But
Yeah.
the actual steps to get there is what's most interesting to people. Like, okay,
100%.
how are we gonna like? Again, I'm gonna delve on the raw train. I love, no matter what character I'm writing, I love creating enemies where people are resistant to give me any. So if Ham's sitting in a
Attaboy.
room and he's silent and he's giving me nothing to work with, but we have to role play together, I'm gonna start making him into an enemy. I'm gonna start villainizing him. I'm gonna start building him
Well,
up to like
yeah, all
how
good.
he's wronged me, what he's done. Go ahead, Ham.
Every single good story is bred from conflict. There's no like hanging out. The movie doesn't. It's not a very.
I
type
agree
of,
wholeheartedly. Okay, before I
it doesn't
advocated
now.
a little bit, but conflict doesn't
Yeah.
always mean
Doesn't have to be
war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So that conflict, like for example, I really at the beginning, when I claimed Mandalore with Raw, I didn't claim it immediately. I won the duel. We had a blood duel, and then we had an OC vote for who won the blood duel. Everybody voted me. Okay, I did not claim the mantle right then. I said I need the Allure Council in character to approve my character as becoming Mandalore, and then that empowered that Allure Council. Okay, Tef is saying the Allure Council has a lot of power in character, so now he's bolstering them up, and I did that because I was creating a villain for Raw later down the line, which became a huge issue later down the line because they were the Senate to my Emperor, right? Like they were constantly stifling the Mandos. They were constantly like everyone, even the Allures that were in the Allure Council, were like, "We hate this. We hate the politics." But that's what made it great
Good.
because
Yeah, that's
you
good.
actually have some investment in it. And then I had to find ways around, like, okay, we're about to go to war with the Galactic Alliance back then, not the current one, but we were about to go to war with them, and we were like, how do I get around the Allure Council to declare war, type shit. So it just creates that conflict, that simple conflict of going, I'm going to give these people power, I'm going to say they need to validate me. You have just created an enemy. You have just created a villain for your story, and that is something you can constantly bounce on. And the more enemies you create, the more things you have to bounce. So that's my take on conflict and the culture of that. Any last thoughts about that?
No, I like that. Like you said, like There needs to be constant conflict, but that conflict doesn't need to be apocalyptic, total war.
Yeah.
Millions of men in an open field.
The best role play
So-
sometimes is discussion, right? So you need to give yourself and your faction
Correct.
time to breathe, time to draw the curtains back and discuss things, and have that conflict. Allow that interpersonal, like domesticated conflict, to actually give to breed, because it'll play later when you're actually at war. Go ahead, Insanity. I think wanted to speak.
Oh, just on the concept of total war, I know that this is in contradiction to what you said earlier, Ham, but I actually would like to see more campaigns, like actual offensives. Like I am a bit of a war buff, and I enjoy
You play
reading
Hearts of
like
Iron,
how.
don't you?
Actually, no. My computer can't support it.
Dude, the number
Yeah,
of people who play Hearts
it's
of
not.
Iron is too damn high.
Yeah, I don't. But I like to see like campaigns that like add on to each other. Like one campaign affects the course of the next campaign. Because to be honest, sometimes it does feel a bit detached. Like we had a skirmish this day, but that doesn't change anything overall in the balance of the conflict. So it feels a bit inconsequential, and it's just like one thing and we're done, instead of
Could you
an
provide an
ongoing series of
example?
events.
No, that's a huge.
Of,
I could provide examples for that, because the skirmishes,
Go for it.
skirmishes usually only impact character, like your actual character consequences or whatnot. Like if you wanted to die during a skirmish, excuse me, that's a actual consequence. Obviously, that's probably the biggest one. Also, your personal relationships with other skirmishes, they feel inconsequential to a degree. Now, there are consequences you can enact that are in character, but as a whole, like having all 20 people that are in a skirmish feel those consequences, usually pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Usually, it's only like
Yeah.
1 to 5 people who feel those consequences. Or like I did a skirmish on, I think when I was with Sons of Mandalore, Ham, I did a skirmish on
Yeah.
Carnifex's satellite or station, and
Mulchstream.
we were just
I remember this.
we were stealing resources for the NIO, I think, at the time, and it, it was pretty inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Really, all we were doing was pissing off Carnifex in character, and then we were gaining resources, quote unquote, for and research for us, which it's like the reason people only joined, they didn't really care about the overall atmosphere. They just joined because, okay, we're doing Sons of Mandalore stuff, so these guys want to do that, I'm going to go do that. They don't really feel the consequences. They know, oh, see, my character's going to make it out of here. They know, oh, see, resources really don't matter if we win or not. Like, so that's what I think you're talking about. Is those consequences the writer needs to feel those consequences a little bit, right?
Yeah, like I don't really. Okay, I do write characters, but most often those characters are commanders of military units, and those military units tend to take the forefront. And maybe it's just me, but I like my battles like when you're commanding military units, that if that unit gets decimated in the next RP, it's still decimated, and you will have to deal with that. But that's just a
Oh, you're
personal thing,
a NPC writer, huh?
kind of. Yeah.
No, it's all good. There's all walks of life.
Yeah, my favorite
Oh,
my favorite aesthetic is a shattered division that's been reformed so many times.
But you also
That's
have
why.
to understand, like, a lot of what we're talking about is not going to apply to somebody who really invested in writing NPC, because we're talking about personal conflicts.
Yeah,
A
I
lot of the
know,
time.
but and I also
Okay.
enjoy. Yeah, fair enough.
But with your commanders, do you like role play out their actual thoughts and their actual
Yeah.
personal conflict, or?
Yeah. It's just that I have multiple commanders, and they often talk to each other in a single post, and it's basically just sort of like not really a hive mind, but more of a hive conclusion,
Okay.
basically, if that makes sense. It's basically like, why am I doing this?
That's a
Here
great
is
question.
what I am going
No, I'm
to
just
do with what I would,
Hmm?
with what I know
Yeah.
and what I know I have. It's basically it's trying to meta game, but with RP reasons. Like I want to sort of make this fight fun, but I also need to get in the headspace of this NPC and think, how can I make decisions that would make this fun make sense in their mind?
No, I've
I'm
met your
talking
kind.
nonsense.
I've met your kind
Mm.
in character before. It's a different way of role playing from the standard, really.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting. It can be interesting, but to follow the conversation of the consequences, it's a lot more difficult as a writer to feel those consequences if they're not personally attained. Like if you could just re-roll like a new NPC unit. But you said you're pretty
Yeah.
invested yourself in like which battalion or which armored infantry
Yeah.
or whatnot is suffering casualties,
Gets
etc.
wiped
Right?
out. Yeah.
Okay.
This is from somebody who likes Band of Brothers and all that.
I love Band of
Great
Brothers.
show.
One of my
Great
favorite
show.
America.
and one of my favorite aesthetics during World
yeah.
War II is just scattered divisions just constantly being thrown into the meat grinder, and you just read accounts of the people who just watch everything slowly disintegrate around them, and it's just so compelling just to see the eventual hopelessness of the situation as people around you start, you don't see them anymore, the chain of command starts breaking down until all of a sudden it's just you left.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes, I
something
too
so
read The
fascinating.
Anarch. Insanity. I
I
too read the last Guns Ghost book.
I'm with you on that. I don't know. I think
Yeah,
that
but I'm dragging it away
it
from the
relates.
Mandalorian conversation, so I'll stop
There you
here.
go.
Okay.
It seemed more
That
like
was-
this
No.
is how I want RP to work, not how I want Mandalorians. Which I mean, I hear you. Like that's valid.
Well, that's what you're going to get a lot in these RP conversations, just as a general. Everyone has a different perspective, and the more we talk about it, the more you'll understand why people are so divisive when it comes to, like, what leadership decisions get made for a Mandalorian faction. Is you got a homie back here who's one of what 4 people who showed up to a town hall for the EU, and he's role playing in a whole ass different language than the rest of us. You know what I'm saying? So, like people are just different. They like what they like, and I think it's easy to face or to feel those consequences, but you're doing it in a different way. Like it'd be kind of cool if you had like a spreadsheet and you were actually keeping count of like how many tanks or whatever you had in such and such battalion, and how many who the name commander of that was. Because I would never roleplay like that. You wouldn't catch me
Can I
dead doing
actually
that.
make
But
a
it's
point on
still
that?
interesting. Go ahead, Potato.
Because so I actually had a Mando commander, and so Mandos tend to like to do things lead from the front, lead by example kind of thing. So he's he's colonel who's got a armored and mechanized unit. In fact, Insanity. This is after the Carry 3 Dom in when we were both in the CIS, and my guys went to go and pull your guys out of the fire. And the next time I
Oh,
wrote them,
you
I
still
actually.
remembered that?
Of course, I remember that. Listen, I may have had some interesting times, but I still remember that.
I like this moment. This is wholesome. This is a good moment.
So, and the next time I wrote them, I actually wrote them with like next to no ammunition because they had expended it, and they hadn't had time to resupply. So,
Okay.
maybe not a spreadsheet, but just a few notes, like maybe for next time, write them with less ammunition, or maybe for next time. And I do have like my unit commanders, and sometimes I think it's few of them important NPCs that I reference often named.
Here's the cap of the situation: as a guy who sees every damn report that comes out of this community, it crosses my desk. I don't even touch reports these days. I just look at them, and if I get like if it's a stupid roleplay report, I will literally click close, and I'll say staff's not gonna respond to this one, and then I just get out of the situation. But my take is like, if it is very difficult to understand when a guy is quote unquote power gaming or when he's just caught up in his own stuff and he's like really enjoying the situation. And he's just, writing to the point of which he enjoys, which I assume anyone who NPCs like a war effort is really going to get. They love those details. They're really going to get into them. The problems you have along the way, though, like nobody ever discusses them, and that's the biggest thing. It's so funny
Facts.
and that's why we have conversations like this one, is because people don't talk unless we force them to. So,
Yep. True.
but I am gonna note that we are at almost the hour mark. So we're not gonna go much longer. I'm gonna say let's do a round of 10, maybe 10 more minutes if everyone's down. I just want to like ask you guys about
Perfect.
your own Mandalorians and stuff, and then we're gonna wrap
I
it up.
do have to actually go now.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, this is a great
Sorry.
time if you want to
Yeah,
if you want to dip.
Yeah.
If everybody wants to dip, I'm also down. But I was gonna ask you guys about your own characters.
I'm happy to talk.
Let's see. Rules and announcements. I wrote down these questions. Okay, Ham, you're up first, buddy.
What's up? Like my
Uh,
individual guy?
well, I'm not gonna like quiz you about who the fuck. Well, give me his name, your character.
I'm playing Trajan Fett.
Ooh, I remember him. He's the same one for Sons of Mandalore, ain't he?
Nah, different. He's
Oh,
a
okay.
different guy. So
Same
it's,
name,
I'm a
though.
big fan, and I think Star Wars is obviously pretty big on this, like continuing legacies and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has the same first name. He has the same last name, I guess. Yeah,
Okay.
and the same armor. So yeah, I can see the confusion. But he is like the
Yeah.
He's the son of a guy. So I wrote an NPC with Trajan pretty often named Volker Fett, and that was like it was like his like little squire, I guess, like a guy
Okay.
he looked after. And then I had Trajan die in an invasion. I played Volker for a little bit, and then I was gonna continue playing him, and they did the time skip thing. Like, oh
Yeah.
shit! All right, so he, 30 years from now, he might have a son. He'd probably name it after the guy who raised him up. But I'll have him be dead. I'll play as his son. His son started off as like a little, like in those those like Boba Fett books for kids.
Sure.
Or it's like young Boba Fett doing
Yeah.
shit. So he started off like that, and then he got the shit kicked out of him at some point because he's like a 15-year-old trying to be a Mandalorian bounty hunter. Got the shit kicked out of him. Lost his Beskar armor, and then me and Zeph did a thread where he got back, and now that he's a Beskar boy again, he's all hyped up on sort of regaining the mantle of being a Mandalorian. So he's come into the Neo Crusaders, looking to spill blood and such.
The Lost Boys. The Lost Beskar Boys.
Indeed.
Okay, so you obviously hail to Clan Fett, or is he more of a...
Yep.
Okay. So does he have specific... I don't think Fett has colors, but does he have any specific, like, what's the color of his armor?
I mean, he's got, it's mostly, it's fucking Boba Fett. I'm not unique.
He's
I'm
like
not
green,
unique, and it's the
green
I
armor,
did
maybe
write
some
it
orange, a little bit of brown mixed in.
because I did write it on his profile what all the colors mean. Hold on one
Okay.
sec. Yeah, so we got his green is the duty to Clan Fett now that he's retaken the armor. The yellow on there, on his shoulder pads, it's the vengeance for like the sort of the in the way that kind of like Homeboy Insanity talked about, like the Mandalorians have kind of lost the way. They're very much so a disparate people. So
Yeah.
there's kind of vengeance for the old ways, and then the red is honoring, of course, Trajan Kurz, which is the character you're familiar with, who wore the same armor, and his father, Volker Fett. So those are the colors he wears and what they mean.
Nice. Okay. That's enough for Ham. Let's do Quartz. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to Roger up. And then Reese.
He's typing.
He's typing?
Yeah, he's typing.
Yeah, he's typing.
Okay, I'm not in
yeah.
the channel. Wait. Oh, I'm in.
Said,
I'm
"Hey,
not
I'm
even
here."
in the. I haven't been in. I haven't been in the chat for
Oh,
the voice
brother.
chat the entire time.
Okay.
I forgot these voice
So
chats
no
had
one has
chat.
anything to say, huh?
Yeah, I
Oh,
haven't been reading any of this
people.
shit. You're gonna see from the video, I haven't closed the entire time.
Attaboy.
Oof.
I have it open now. I'm listening. That's funny though. I found the Enclave fun. They never had a Mandalore. Enclave's dead, at least inactive. Yeah, sure. Told us to chat here and didn't even read us. No, I haven't, dude. The entire time. I just figured you guys were lurking.
Honestly, I don't know really what the Enclave was. They seemed to me like the ultimate,
Isolation.
Well, no, that a bit, but they kind of like, they were like the Mandalorian show TM faction.
Yeah,
to me.
100%.
Yeah.
That's what I
You
said
know?
too.
Like,
Like, ride
Also
that hype,
Destiny,
brother.
don't
I
forget that.
get it. They started as a GA,
hell yeah.
a GA like sub faction, so it
No,
was kind of
no,
like.
the CIS subfaction.
Oh yeah,
right,
it
they were
was.
CIS,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, I remember. I was there.
Just
I
charge
was there
them
when the
more.
text were written.
I
Not
enjoyed
on
the
the Enclave,
Crusade vibe
but
of the Enclave. Was that near the end, dude?
Yeah,
I
right
don't
at the end
think
before they
Yeah.
fell apart.
Because
Well, they
the
did. They
majority
did.
of the
There
Enclave
was
was
like
hard
some
to
stuff
understand.
on
recently.
Rylot and Rhodia right at the end. It was not much of. I mean, okay, I'm gonna be mean
But
here,
that's where I come at when
it
people
was very
ask
small.
me if I'm like, or get worried. Like, we had literally people quit at the Protectorate because I just joined the chat. So my take was like, you watched like entire generations of Mandalorians go by, and I did nothing at all. Like the Enclave, dude. I never even touched the
I
Enclave.
still don't know what the Protectorate's like shtick was.
I don't know either. I'll be real.
I was told it was rebuilding Mandalore, and that's all I got out of them.
I mean, that's a thing, but it's not like a. I don't know if that's like a major faction purpose.
Well, that
type,
was an actual
motivation.
conversation during. Well, it's pretty lame because
yeah.
Mandalore's been explored enough, and two,
Yeah,
it's
100%.
like we had the Allurial tie because I joined the faction and said, where is Ijat and what is the IC response to him being gone because he's Mandalore. And people said,
Yeah.
we don't know. We was just kind of ignoring it. And I said, what? Like, that's one of the biggest
Good deal.
stories
Alright.
that you can do right now to drum up excitement. And so I like convinced the majority of the faction to do that. And then I was just like, oh, okay, so nobody's steering me different. There's no leaders here right now. Mia's
They never really
checked
let.
out. And
Yeah, they didn't do that. So
we did the Allurial
it got
tie,
addressed
yeah.
in.
But
No, the Allurial tie, yeah, but the whole like drama over Ijat leaving, it was addressed in one DOM afterward, by
Yeah.
3 characters. That was it.
yeah, which weird.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, if somebody
I
dips
agree.
on you and just says nothing, dude, like what are the faction admins doing? Ask.
Also, Ijat leaving was kind of a weird thing. So
Yeah.
the way he left.
I don't know the whole story there, and I don't want to explore it on a video.
Nah, that's fair.
I found the Enclave fun. Told us to. Well, you guys haven't even rogered up Quartz and Reese. Okay, we're moving past because it's too much time has been spent. Flag Potato.
I wasn't sure. You said Quartz Roger up, not me. So
Okay, Reese. You
Oh,
have
okay.
you have 30 seconds.
I'm ready.
Well, okay, you're ready, so I'll give you all the time you want instead of 30 seconds. But the your character's colors, your clan's colors.
Yeah, so they're foundlings, so they don't have a clan. But
Okay.
their colours are the blue and pink, because bisexual. Bisexual.
Bisexual. So he's a
Alright.
hardliner for letting people know his
Hardliner
sexuality.
bisexual.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What do
does
you mean by
Velcro, so yeah.
bisexual when I ask you for your armor's colors?
Because it's the bisexual flag.
Okay, so it's the bisexual flag. So it's like pink and
Colours,
white.
yeah.
Is that right?
Pink, blue, and white. Yeah.
Pink, blue, and white. Okay.
Yeah.
So why couldn't you say pink, blue?
Well, I did say pink, blue.
Okay.
I was just adding that on afterwards.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you come at me on the battlefield and you're like, I'm the bisexual clan, I'm gonna be really weirded out that I'm in the middle of I'm in the middle of a war and this guy's screaming at me.
Hoisting the war banner of bisexuals.
We're gonna move past
Sorry.
Zelcom, but yeah.
Do you have a
Zelcom, so
clan?
that's it.
Or okay, so do you have a sigil? Since you don't have a clan sigil, do you have like a spirit animal?
I haven't looked into that yet, but I was going to leave it open to discovering as he sort of develops as a character.
Okay. Cool. Let's move on. Flying potato.
Yes. Okay. So, as I was saying earlier, I had developed this idea of these clans living on Breshik as, adherent to the Super Commando Codex. And what I do personally is I'm trying to write the umbrella story of these guys, and so each character is like a strut on the umbrella. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so each, if you just talk about symbology, each clans is based off of the sort of cross daggers and Kirbes or Mythosphore skull of the Super Commander Codex iconography. So it's a variation on that to sort of show that. But the entire clans all work for the little PMC, which is a subsidiary of the production company,
That's
which
a
is also run by the clans.
private military corporation, right? PMC.
Yes, that's right. Which is called Strill Security. So they've all got the little stylized Strill somewhere on that armor.
Okay.
And that's sort of the main economy of what keeps them afloat. No colors per se. They prefer to go by, everybody's got their individual colors on their armor that have their own significance. There's no clan colors as of that sort of thing.
All right, we'll go a different direction then with you. How do you guys feel about a Mandalore? Let's say there's a Mandalore tomorrow, and he calls, the banners back to Mandalore, the planet. So my question to you would be: one, would your guy and his clan honor that call, or because you're more of a mercenary, like what's your previous interactions with previous Mandalores? And in short, we don't need the full history, but
Sure, no worries.
Yeah.
Well, in the case of Idrat and the projectors, they came back to see what was going on. If it was going to be a rallying cry for another crusade or something, it was just going to be ignored, like not even worth dealing with. But if there's a good cause, I mean, Rizal now says rally when the Mandalore's called, and when the Mandalore's making sense, you might as well rally.
Well, you would also just answer for money, right?
Yeah, presuming it wasn't just to go crusading again. But if there was a call of, hey, there's this thing, it maybe not be so agreeable, but it is, in the name of following the codex as it were, then yeah, heck yeah.
Okay. What about you guys? Any concerns on the Mandalore calling you back to the planet, and requiring you follow his commands type deal?
I think it's a fun story to do. Like, however that goes, I think that'd be a good shake-up event for the Mandalorians. Like, given how fucking
I bring it up because
XYZ.
I've just never seen it, and I could be missing some history, but I've never seen it done by a Mandalore, since me basically I've never seen anyone Because not only did we make the call, but we didn't allow people to ignore it. Like, we specifically said, if you ignore this, you're getting declared Darmanda, and we're going after, which is a traitor, and we're going
Yep.
after you, and we're going to hold you accountable. So, I just love that whole story.
No, that's cool.
And again, it opens up that conflict. It creates villains. Like, Clan Raxus was, they were Jedi Mandalorians. They were overall good guys. They ignored the call to come back to Mandalore, so we said, we're going to come get you. So it was like, I always found that fascinating too, but it goes back into the whole breadth of conflict and everything. I think that's all I got, guys. We went a little bit over the 10 minutes, so I'm just going to call it there. I will say for this room and for the video, I did say please don't come to all three if whatever, because we already saw that we filled an hour pretty easily. But and the new America one's probably going to be a lot bigger. But if you do want to attend it, you can. I'm not going to hold people back from that. And that concludes it. Any last comments, concerns, gripes, complaints?
Not really, no.
No, we want to go back to our games. Okay, cool, dude. Have a good one and see you then.
All right, brother.